What's up, YouTube? UFC 199 just ended, and that card was awesome. I mean, it was awesome. I know you guys know you saw it. It was awesome. I mean, it started off slow, but from the Matt Brown fight on, it was probably one of the best 6 fights in a row ever. Like, I wouldn't say whole card ever, but like 6 fights. I mean, even if I got a couple of them wrong, I mean, it was one of the best 6 fights in a row ever. I wouldn't say card because some of those fights are pretty jank, but those 6 fights were some of the best 6 fights in a row I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, let's start at the bottom. Their first fight was Yendo Sendos versus Cody Spisfer, and I mean, it was not that exciting. It was basically just, you know, the first round I had Yendos winning with the leg kicks, and then the second and the third, it was basically Cody just getting takedowns and grinding out a decision 29-28, and that's how all judges scored it 29-28. The next fight was Louis Smolka versus Neil Seery, and this is exactly what I thought it was. Two guys that were pretty evenly matched. I just felt like Lewis was a little bit better everywhere, especially grappling wise, and that's what happened. I think they were really even pretty much. They were really back and forth, but I just think Lewis was a little bit better everywhere and was able to outposition him for the most of the time, and most of the fight was on the ground. And I had a 30-27 for Lewis, and I think that's what they all scored it. I think all three judges scored a 30-27 for Lewis. It was just it was a fun grappling match, but it was a pretty one-sided grappling match. Next was Cody Garbrandt versus Henry Benoist, and this is basically a striking match, and it was a lot like the fight with Marcus Brimage, just not as much output, but it was pretty one-sided. I just felt like Cody wasn't throwing enough. I felt like he won. I mean, he was clearly winning every single round. I just thought there were times where he probably could have won by KO, but he didn't. But it was still dominant. It was a clear 30-27 decision. It wasn't the greatest fight ever, but still solid win for him. This is why I think it's good that they're building him up and they're not just throwing him in with top 15 guys and they're letting him slowly get the wins. Next was John Howard versus Cathal Pendred, and this was some of the stupidest judging I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've never seen a more clear 30-27 decision ever. Like, I know a lot of people thought Cathal lost that fight to Shane Spencer. I thought that fight was kind of close just because Cathal was getting a lot of takedowns. This fight was ridiculous. I mean, he didn't get any takedowns, and he was hardly throwing strikes. If you looked at, like, the top 10, maybe even the top 20 hardest strikes on that fight, all of them were landed by Howard. I mean, every single takedown Cathal attempted, he failed. Every time he had John against the fence, he was out almost right away. So the fact that it was a split decision was ridiculous. I'm glad that John still won. I'm just saying the fact that it was remotely, it was like the clearest 30-27 decision I've ever seen in my life. And that's what I was saying about Cathal. He's just fought really one-dimensional guys, and this was the first guy he's ever fought that wasn't one-dimensional. And you can clearly see he's not that great fighting guys that have skill. So, good win for John Howard. Next was Alex Garcia versus Mike Swick. And this fight wasn't that great either. The striking was basically dead even, but Alex just used his vastly superior wrestling advantage to just grind out a decision. I think he got like 5 or 6 takedowns. This fight was boring, not much to talk about. Next was Tim Means versus Matt Brown, and like I said, this is when the fight got crazy. I mean, this fight I thought was probably going to be fight of the night. They basically, I mean, neither guy dropped the other guy, but they rocked each other like 3 times, 4 times. Throughout the course of the fight, I think they rocked each other both twice. They were landing kicks, knees, elbows, and then the last person that got rocked was Tim Means. He got hit with an elbow. He tried to get a takedown. Matt Brown locked up a guillotine and won with like 10-15 seconds left in the round. That was a great fight, and they showed it at the end of the main card, so everyone got to see it because that was really the only fight on the undercard that was worth watching. But it was great. It was just as good as any fight on the main card. Next was Brad Pickett versus Thomas Almeida, and this fight pissed me off just because I thought I wanted Brad Pickett to win, and he was dominating. I thought the fight was super one-sided. I thought that first round could have been a 10-8 before he got dropped right at the end. But he was lighting him up. I mean, the striking was super one-sided before he got hit with that uppercut or knee. And then the second round happened, and he just got knocked out with a flying knee, like 30 seconds in. I was so pissed. I couldn't believe that had happened. He was owning him. It was so one-sided. I couldn't believe it when that happened. Good win for Almeida, but that clearly shows that he's not as great as people think. I mean, he was getting lit up before that happened. He almost got knocked out twice, and I mean like knocked out. Like the people that are watching it saw. I mean, he like fell to his back. He was almost knocked unconscious twice. It was a good comeback. I'm just saying, slow down the hype train on this dude. He's not that great. Next was Gunnar Nelson versus Brandon Thatch, and this is what I thought. I thought that if Thatch could keep it standing, he would win. But Gunnar hit him with a good counter when he started to get wild, and then as soon as it went to the ground, I knew he wasn't getting back up. I knew he was going to get submitted, and that's exactly what happened. There's just a huge gap in their ability on the ground, and as soon as the fight hit the mat, I knew he was done. I knew Gunnar was going to win by submission, so good win for Gunnar. Next was Jeremy Stephens versus Dennis Bermudez, and this fight kind of sucks just because Stephens missed weight by like 4 or 5 pounds, so it takes away from the great win, because it was a great win, but I don't think it would have happened if he would have made weight, because I think he would have been too damn tired to, I think my prediction would have been right. I think Bermudez probably would have won by second round rear naked choke, because he would have been gassed. And I think the Oliveira fight showed that he can't make this weight and fight at 100%. The only reason why he fought as good as he did was because he weighed in at like 150. So I'm just saying that's basically lightweight. You weigh in at 150, you're lightweight. So there's a good win for him, but I still feel like it proves my point. Jeremy Stephens is not good. It was a great fight, but you know what I mean? It's hard to feel good about that fight because Jeremy Stephens missed weight by so much. So as great as the fight that was, and the fact that he won by a comeback knee, it's almost mitigated by the fact that he missed weight by so much. Anyway, the next fight was Robbie Lawler versus Rory MacDonald, and Robbie Lawler just every single fight this dude is in is like one of the best fights I've ever seen. His last 4 fights I think have been some of the great. Him versus Brown, the 2 fights with Johnny Hendricks, and now this. I mean, those are 4 of probably the top 20, 30 greatest fights of all time. I mean, UFC, Pride, it doesn't matter. I think everyone can agree with that. Those were like 4 of the greatest fights ever. He's just been on a tear. I mean, the first round was super close. I thought it could have went either way. I gave it to Lawler just because he stuffed the takedown and because I do feel like you got to beat the champion to be the champ. It was just one of those rounds, And then the second round clearly went to Robbie Lawler. That's when he started. That's when I think he broke Rory's nose and started cutting up his face with the ground and pound. The second round was pretty one-sided too until the very end when Rory caught him with that head kick. I thought that round could have went either way. I know a lot of people probably think that Rory just won it, but it's hard to say someone wins a round when they're getting their ass kicked for the most part of it. You know what I mean? It's like that fight with Rick Story and what's his name? Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum was winning the whole second round, and then Rick Story almost knocked him out the last 10 seconds. So it's one of those things. It's up to you. And then the fourth round, I thought Rory won it. I felt like the first 2 minutes was all him. Robbie Lawler started to come back a little bit the next 3 minutes, but the first 2 minutes was pretty much all Rory, and he was landing the heavier shots. And then come the fifth, out of nowhere, Robbie Lawler just lands a straight and like obliterates his nose. Rory just falls in pain. It was the greatest fights I've ever seen. I mean, it's got to be up there, top 20. I mean, not just for me. I would assume for almost everybody. That was an amazing fight. And then finally was Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes. And this just proves what I said in the video. I think if Chad had 8 weeks, he would have won. Like, there's no way Conor can beat that guy. I think both rounds Chad was winning pretty dominantly until the second when he got knocked out. But he took this fight on 2 weeks' notice, guys. I mean, maybe less. I think it was 12 or 13 days. If he had 8 weeks, I think he would have won. I like Conor, but that just proves it. He's not at that level, at least not yet. Maybe he needs to train with Junior Dos Santos, but I'm just saying, like, that was pretty one-sided. Like, let's be real. It was a one-sided beatdown before he won by KO. I mean, he was just getting lit up with those elbows on the ground. I don't know why Chad went for a guillotine. I don't think it was fixed. I know some people are saying that. I don't think it's fixed. I just think he went for a guillotine because he thought he could get it. And if he had 8 weeks, I don't think he would have been tired. I think he would have just done what he did in that round every single round. Conor clearly couldn't get up. It was a good win for Conor, good win for Ireland, and tomorrow we got the Ultimate Fighter finale. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. One of the greatest cards I've ever seen.